Hey, fellow rock stars, Dr. Dan here, and welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about not tiptoeing through life so you can safely land in your grave. And what does that mean? That means not tiptoeing through life and avoiding the things and not doing the things that you've always wanted to do in your life. Whether it be your mission or your true purpose in life or something that you've just always wanted to do, but too afraid to take action on, to do for some reason, for whatever reason it is, you've been too afraid to actually do it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is don't tiptoe through life so you can safely land in your grave. But before we do, let's go ahead and roll that intro.
Welcome to the RockStarInLife podcast, where you learn the secrets to unleashing your inner rock star so you can make the world your stage.
All right, before we get rocking, Tony, are you there?
What's happening, fellow rock stars? I'm here.
Love it. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful intro. Getting better and better every time. So, not tiptoeing through life. This is one of the things. Again, this is just such an important lesson. This is something that I've lived my life by for quite a while now, and it's made one of the biggest impacts in my life as well. I think all the things that we've been teaching in some way or another, I've used several times over and over again, and I still use them today. I was talking with Tony as well, a little bit in the back, and we were going over it as well. And it was something that he lives in his life as well. Again, like I said, what does that mean? Not tiptoeing through life so you can land safely in your grave, which means like avoiding the things that you've always wanted to do in your life. Maybe it was something like you wanted to write a book, maybe you wanted to record a music album. You wanted to be a singer, right? You wanted to create your first album or an album, right? You want to do something like that. And the cool thing is it's never been easier than it is today for you to do something like that. Many, many years ago, you would have to spend a lot of money to be able to do that and record in a studio. And today you could do it in your bedroom. You could do it in your closet. You could do it on the toilet. If you really wanted to, you could make a song. So you could use your phone to sing, right? Tony, don't you do that sometimes? Record from the toilet?
Oh yeah, but I never let on. Well, do you know what? People sing in the shower a lot because they say it's good acoustics. So I could see the benefit to doing that. I was just trying to think of what album title you could give it.
I don't know. I have a feeling it'd be pretty crappy no matter what.
Way! Oh, there it is.
Yeah. The reason I even brought that up, the reason that my ADHD kicks in, my ADD, that superpower, hey, look, a squirrel, right? Is because I was going through some old photos. I've been backing up my old photos, putting them on the cloud. And I came across one of the photos when my son was over my shoulder watching. And it was a little portable desk that I have that I used to work from every now and then. And what I did is I attached a boom arm to it, and one of those flexible ones like the one I'm using right here. And I had a microphone on it, and it was attached to this little IKEA desk you could move around, and I had my laptop on it, and I brought it over to the toilet, and I had it just sitting at the toilet, and I took a photo of it right in front of the toilet to kind of joke around and tell and let people know hey, you can work from anywhere, you can make money from anywhere, including your toilet. So it was kind of fun. So it reminded me of that.
That's just excellent. We need to see this picture, yeah.
Yeah,
amazing.
I didn't have it prepared, so maybe I'll throw it on the screen right there.
You could have
or it'd be on that side. I don't know.
You could have
one
flushed.
Of those sides. Yeah, exactly. I think I did have the seat closed on that one. Hopefully I did. All right. Or maybe you wanted to climb a mountain or hike a trail like the the Appalachian Mountain Trail?
Appalachian, isn't it?
Appalachian. Chin, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to start a podcast. Maybe you want to sing opera on stage or even learn how to sing opera, right? Maybe you want to take singing lessons. Maybe you want to get the best shape of your life, right? Maybe you wanted to find somebody special to spend the rest of your life with. or something else like move to another state that you've always liked, or a whole new country, but you're always too afraid to do something like that. Again, this is all about it's not about not being afraid, but it's about not playing it too safe. It's about not letting other people dim your light. That's another saying I like to use, is not let others dim your light. Because if it's somebody else that's influencing this decision, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's another loved one, or somebody in your past that you don't even realize are still influencing you, but it's the words that they said in the past kind of still have you afraid to take action, to do something that maybe you were a little fearful of doing or starting or trying, but that still rings in your ear like, oh man, they're not in my life anymore, but I don't even realize they're still influencing me, right? So I like to call this the rocking chair test, which really means imagine, right? All the things that you've wanted to do in your past, some of the things that I mentioned or something else, right? Imagine you're 70, 80, 90, I don't know, whatever year you think you're probably going to be sitting in a rocking chair, right? You might be 150 years old, right? Because you're like, I'm not going to be old until I'm 150. I'm not going to be old until I'm 250 years old. Okay, great. Well, no matter what age that is, you're sitting in a rocking chair. You're in the last parts of your life, right? Not the last year or two or whatever like that, but you're getting close, right? You're sitting there. And you're just sitting in your rocking chair and you're rocking back and forth and you're just thinking about all the achievements, all the experiences, all the moments in your life, how beautiful they were, how you just enjoyed life and you had so much fun. But then you think back, like, is this something that I'm going to be thinking back on in my rocking chair going, man, I really wish I would have done that. Damn, why didn't I do that? And you're going to be full of regrets for not doing those things. That's the rocking chair test. So the cool thing is you don't have to wait until you're that old to get into the rocking chair and think about that, unless you're already there, but there's still time. So don't worry, you can still do some of those things. But instead, think of it now. Imagine in the future, you're in your rocking chair and you're thinking like, should I have done this? And that influences me today when I'm like, oh, I'm too afraid to do this one thing. But you know what? I'm going to be full of regrets. It's that whole thing, that whole saying like, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, right? Well, the same thing happens with regrets. When you don't do something, you sit back there and you just think about it over and over and over and over again, like you're giving yourself these paper cuts over and over and over again, and they sting and they suck and it's not cool. So I always look back like this. I always think forward. Imagine I'm looking back, but I'm thinking forward. Is this something that I'm going to regret? Is this something that's really important to me? And I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now, disclaimer here, okay? Unless you're thinking, full disclaimer here, right? I'm not saying for you to leave your wife and 3 kids so you can fulfill your childhood dream of being a clown in a traveling circus. Or I'm not saying to quit your job right now so you can start your own band at 45 years old while not providing for your kids and spouse, okay? To put food on the table. I'm not saying to do anything like that. Obviously, take care of your family, take care of your wife, your kids, do all those things. But at the same time, live your purpose, make time for it. Work towards it. Spend 20% of your time on your dream, right? And then 80% on your job or whatever it is that brings in the cash so you can still put food on the table, or work something out with your spouse or significant other if you have one, or whoever is, helping you or whoever supports you, work out some kind of a deal where maybe they're going to take on more work and you can do less. Maybe you don't have to work. For our family, I'm the one that brings in, most of the money, right? My wife hasn't had to work in years and years and years. Before, I think last time my wife had an actual job was when my daughter, Kayleen, was maybe up to 1, maybe 2, somewhere around there. And since then, and now she's now going to be 19 next month, right? So for 17, 18 years, she hasn't had to have a job. So that's allowed her to follow her own passions and her own dreams, but not having to feel the pressure of, oh, what's going to bring in money right now? Because then you end up falling in this trap where you're just like doing the things that are going to bring in cash, but maybe aren't your dream. And, if you get caught up in those things, you might not make time for you to be able to follow those passions or those dreams or what your true purpose is in life. So you have to make room for that. I have to do that myself as well, right? Like there's a lot of things that I had to do in my past. I had to, because I wasn't making enough money and, we didn't have the same technologies that we have today. We didn't have the social media, the paid advertising, and all the cool stuff that we have today, that I had to do some other kind of businesses that I didn't really love and enjoy, but I found a way to enjoy them and to still live my purpose and my passion, which is helping other people. So I was still able to find those things in other areas and in other businesses. So I was able to do that. But now, because things have changed, I'm able to shift that. I'm able to do these podcasts, to do these episodes, to make these videos, to talk to you today, which is my true passion. I love this. I love being able to share the things that have helped me in my life, that have helped me get through my struggles. Feeling like a dumbass in school, right? Being a D- student, where the teacher would actually say, a teacher, one of my teachers, I think it was fourth or fifth grade. One of my teachers was a science teacher. She'd actually said, hey kids, today we're having a pop quiz and we're going to be grading it on a scale. And we're going to go all the way from 100% down to Dan's score. Teacher said that in front of the whole class. So you can imagine how I rebelled against school, how I rebelled against all this authority, right? I was just like, screw this. I'm not even going to pay attention. I was just like, when a test came up, I just like mark in A, B, C, C, D, E, or whatever, I would just mark them in and just take my time doing it. So it looked like I was actually doing something, because I was told my whole life that I'm a dumbass, that I wasn't smart, that I couldn't learn, right? And we can go, this will be a whole different episode where we go into how how ADD and ADHD and all these other learning disabilities, being dyslexic and things like that, which my wife is dyslexic, and how they're actually superpowers. And most people just don't understand it because they want you to be normal. They want you to be like them. So of course they're going to drug you. They're going to yell at you. They're going to punish you if you don't sit down and act like them, because that's not them. That's not what they do. So they just don't understand it. It doesn't make them bad people. Okay. They just don't understand it, but they are gifts and they are superpowers, and they allow you to think and see the world in a different way and allow you to do things that no one else can do. And it's amazing. And we'll save that for a whole different episode, because that could be its whole own thing on that right there. So for me, one of the things that I've always wanted to have in my life, right? Like one of the things that was one of my, which is kind of, I don't know, it's pretty cool. Maybe for some of you that you can relate, but I'd always wanted to have an amazing wife and kids. But as a teenager, I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't imagine that it would actually happen. Like I just didn't see it. Like I just didn't know if I truly believed it, because it just felt so far away. Like, will I find, somebody in my life? And it just seemed like something that was so impossible, right? I knew that I wanted more than one kid. And the cool thing is today I have 3 amazing kids. I have an amazing wife. We've been together for 20 years now. 20 years. That's pretty damn awesome. And we truly complete each other. We complete each other. And I couldn't have imagined to have that. But at one point, like I said, I didn't believe, or I didn't understand that would happen for me. I just knew that I wanted it, but I didn't give up. So another thing as well in the past, when I was a kid, I got made of for being skinny, right? Because I was a really, really skinny kid. And I remember I was always skinny, and I remember people always making fun of me. And I remember going to a summer camp, and there was a girl probably 2 years older than me, around there probably. She was the popular girl. She was the pretty popular girl of the summer camp. And I remember just looking at her being like so infatuated, thinking like, oh, maybe she'll look at me and like me or something like that. And then I remember her finally talking to me for the first time. And what she said to me, and I'll never forget this, is, why are you so skinny? And she said that in the gross way, like, ew, why are you so skinny? And like I said, others had said similar things to me as well. It's like, why are you so skinny? And I remember it really bothered me as a kid, and it made me really self-conscious and uncomfortable and felt bad about myself. So for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be big and strong. I wanted to be this big dude. I wanted to be like a superhero. I wanted to be like the Hulk. I wanted to be so big and all that. And so for years in my teens, I remember trying pretty much every supplement there was. I remember trying every workout routine that I could find in magazines and in books. Because, back then we didn't have the internet, right? So we didn't have anything like that. So I was looking through these books and going through them all and doing all these different routines, and I'd overtrain, and I'd get a little bit of muscle, but I would just be skinny with some muscle. And it wasn't until later on when I actually got in the bodybuilding world that, and I knew some, amateur and professional bodybuilders, that the magazines were full of crap. And a lot of times, or actually every time that I can think of, every bodybuilder, amateur and pro bodybuilder I talked to that had been featured in a magazine and they took photos and wrote articles about and their routines, they said that's not their routine. The routine and even the pictures they took, which were what the photographer wanted, and the writer wrote up the routine and everything else to sell more magazines. That wasn't even the workouts they did. And I was just like, whoa, that's so crazy. And I didn't even know that they had fake weights back then. Today, you can go on YouTube and watch people using fake weights where they look real. They're movie weights, pretty much, movie production weights, where they're like they're like styrofoam. So they're super, super light, but they look legit from far away. So you see people doing world record benching and stuff like that. I think Sylvester Stallone had done a video not long ago from now, maybe like a month ago. And he was holding up a 45-pound plate, up in the air like this. And again, it was styrofoam, and he was pretending like it was tough or something like that. So the main thing is I never gave up. What I did was I eventually found a workout partner while I was working at UPS, and his name was actually Chris. So shout out to you, Chris. Thank you so much. Now, he had already done it himself. He was big, he was just naturally a strong dude and a big dude. And basically I brought on a mentor. I modeled myself and I learned from him when it came to, working out and training. And we have a whole episode that we did, a little while ago, which was about, modeling and finding a mentor. So I definitely recommend you check that out, and we'll link to it and have at the end of the thing, we'll put that at the end as well. But here's the thing is I had the formula now to get big. I got myself over 250 pounds. I was just a huge dude. And everyone at the club, so I was so big that everyone at the club in the bar, actually pull it up, man. Tony, I think I sent you yeah, there you go.
There it is. There's the pic. You look big there, man.
Yeah, I was pretty massive there. I think I was 255, 260, somewhere around there. I usually fluctuated somewhere between 250 and 260. Yeah, and man, I really wish we had better cameras back then. The one on the right, where I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt, the Tommy Bahamas shirt. We had a little bit better digital cameras at that point. The other one was a few years before, and back then, I mean, that was we didn't even have really digital cameras. I remember I brought my big ass computer outside so I could take a photo using the webcam, that crappy webcam that was on there. So, because before we didn't have digital cameras at that time. So, but yeah, so working, at the time I was working at UPS, and I remember I was also working as a bouncer in nightclubs in San Francisco. Harry Denton's was the club in San Francisco I worked at. I was at another one, Giovanni's in Concord, before that one. And I remember even when I wasn't working as a bouncer, I would go to other nightclubs and I would go to bars with my friends. And I'd be like standing there. And if I was standing anywhere near the front door, waiting for some friends to come in or whatever, people would start handing me their IDs because they thought I was the bouncer there at that club too. If I'm standing inside and I'm just hanging out, even if I was like had a drink in my hand or something like that, people would come up to me and ask me a question like, "Hey, do you know what time they close? What time you guys close? Do you know where the bathrooms are? Where can I get a drink? Or where's the coat check?" and things like that, because they thought I worked there. Everybody just always thought I was a bouncer at every club. And then I also remember as a kid, this is kind of funny. I was in San Francisco and this is when I was living there for a little while. And I remember I was going through a grocery store and I remember this little kid, his dad was pushing him in the cart, and the cart was sitting and he was sitting in the cart. And I remember him looking at me and going, I was wearing a tank top and some shorts. I just got done working out because the gym was actually in the same area as that at the gym as the grocery store. And I remember the kid looking over and go, "Hey Dad, look, a superhero." And he was pointing at me saying I was a superhero. And that actually felt pretty good, but I felt bad for the dad. I was like, "Oh man, sorry." Like that sucks. Thinks I'm a superhero. You're not. But man, that's a huge difference, right? A huge difference from being this skinny kid that people were grossed out at, going like, "Why are you so skinny? Yuck." And then turning into this big ass like Hulk, like this Hulkster, where people think that I'm a superhero, where kids think I was a superhero, or people thought I was a bouncer at every nightclub and bar that I went to just to hang out at. It's a huge difference, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's quite the turnaround to go from back there to this, and just to be able to say, "Look what I did," and set my mind to it, and I went for it, and I did it, and yeah, I'm sure people have similar experiences, but not one as visually different as that. I know a guy who lost 100 kilograms of weight, and which is basically half his weight, because he was a huge dude, and now he helps people lose weight. But you kind of did the opposite, didn't you? You went, you put it on. So well done, but muscle.
Well, I did the reverse as well, but we'll save that for another time.
Okay.
Like, I started gaining fat because I wasn't working anymore, and I wasn't working out anymore, and I was still working too much, and I had new responsibilities. But that could be a whole nother thing. I mean, that's, again, it's like, man, I needed to get in better shape again. So I had to turn around and reverse it, where I had to lose the fat. I like to say eliminate instead of lose, because again, when you lose something, like you say, "Hey, I lost my car keys," you're saying, "I really want to get them back." So I don't personally like, because, language is important. I don't like to say I lost the weight or I need to lose weight. I like to say eliminate, destroy, get rid of. Because I don't want it back. I don't want the perception of this is still owned by me,
It's very important.
When you say I'm losing money, you want money, right? You want money back. And I'm like, no, I don't want to lose weight. I want to eliminate it, destroy it, get rid of it, kill it, burn it, whatever, right?
That's really important. I do try and catch myself on that, but like I said about that guy Chris, I said he lost 100 kilos. So yeah, always learning.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, again, and I'll tell you some more stories as well, but the whole point, the whole reason I'm telling you this is because these are things that I always wanted to accomplish and I always wanted to do, but I was afraid, or I didn't have the right formula, the right recipe, the right mentor, the right people in my life and my circle of influence to do it. So what did I have to do is I had to go out there and seek it. I had to find it, but I had to take those steps to do it. I could have just as easily wished, wanted, someday I'll do it. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate that there's some things in your life that you're like, someday I will, someday I'll get in better shape. Someday I'll gain more muscle. Someday I'll eliminate the body fat, right? Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. Well, you only have so many more tomorrows, right? There's only so many tomorrows. So don't waste any time. Do it, right? There are so many things in my life, so many examples. I remember the next thing is I started a personal training business to help others. And that's actually where I fell in love helping other people. And that's why I do what I do today, was because that was like the first glimpse I got into sharing what I've learned and what I've achieved in my own life with other people and watching them make changes in their lives and feeling good about it as well. And that made me feel good. It was like this addiction because before I was just doing it for myself and that felt great. But there's really only so much you can do for yourself to where it's like, okay, I'm going to kind of, hit this max, right? Where you're just like, oh, it's still good, but it's not that high that I originally got, right? So I'm like, what else could I do? And once I started helping other people, I was like, whoa, this whole new world opened up to me where I just felt amazing seeing the transformations and seeing them get stronger and get healthier and just feeling good and getting compliments in their life and just feeling the best they've ever felt in their entire life and having more energy and allowing them to spend more time with their kids and their family and do more active things. So it was really amazing. So I started helping others overcome their challenges and achieve what I have achieved. I would have kept my personal training business, but you can only work so many hours in a day. And again, this is before the internet, social media, before the internet was what it is today. And it was definitely before the social media was around. So you couldn't just post stuff on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or anywhere else. And then just, people would follow you and, man, if I had it back then, it would be so much different. So I had to kind of put that dream on the back burner, and I had to find other things that allowed me to achieve my dreams, but also at the same time, make more money because I could, like I said, I could only work so many hours in a day and I could only make so much money in a day because I was limited by the hours. So I was out there seeking something else out there because I knew there had to be something else out there. And I remember later as I was like looking for other things that I can do for business, I didn't have an idea of what exactly I could do, but I knew I wanted to be a millionaire. So I wanted to make a lot of money. I had some big dreams. And I knew I wanted to make a lot of money while having the freedom to work from wherever I wanted to. Okay. Now I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew a few things. One, I wanted to have one of those zero Halliburton silver briefcases, like the ones they have in the movie where they fill it full of money. and I actually have that right here with me. So I did end up getting it. I got the blue ice one when it first came out.
Nice.
That? Yeah. Love that zero Halliburton one. And actually first purchased a cheaper one. And then later I bought the real deal. So, and I still have it today and I've had this one for, I don't know how long. And remind me, in another episode, I'll tell the story of how, the bomb squad was actually called on my silver briefcase. We'll tell that story at another time. Maybe we'll do a short or a YouTube short or something like that, or a TikTok,
nice.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I knew that I wanted to have a silver briefcase. I knew that I wanted to work from a coffee shop. And keep in mind, this is before Starbucks was around, around us at least. I don't know if they were around in Seattle at the time, but there definitely was no talk about Starbucks at the time. It was all these trendy coffee shops in San Francisco that I'd see people working out of and hanging out of, and they had their cell phones and a laptop. And I didn't even like coffee, so I didn't want to drink coffee. I just want to work out of there. I just like, whoa, I want to be that kind of guy. Be on a phone and have my briefcase and do my work and do my business, right? So I had no idea what else I was going to do. But the cool thing is I live that life now. I don't need to use a silver briefcase for work other than to show you guys. But I live the lifestyle where I'm able to work from home. I'm able to just use a computer, a laptop if I decide to travel or do something else, but I don't have to be anywhere else. And I make money from home. And it's all about finding the right vehicle, right? The right formula, the right recipe, like we talked about in the last episode. But if I didn't do all those things, all the things in my past, becoming a personal trainer, working for UPS, and I know I'm going out of order because that's my ADD, my ADHD, but let's actually go in order, right? So if it wasn't for, the kids making fun of me or the popular pretty girl at summer camp making fun of me and saying, ew, you're so skinny. If it wasn't for me working at UPS and meeting Chris and modeling and learning the formula and the recipe, or even before that, me buying up all the books and supplements and trying it myself and failing over and over again, and then finding, a mentor or a friend to help me learn how to do it the correct way. If it wasn't for me working as a personal trainer, starting my own personal training business and doing that as well, even though I wasn't able to make enough money that I wanted to make doing it, but if it wasn't for me doing that, I wouldn't have found my passion helping and teaching and showing other people how to overcome the challenges in their life and how help them succeed. If it wasn't for those things, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be here helping you today. Me and Tony would have never met, right?
Yeah. I think the way that things lead all together, you talking about that leading to that. I've got a quick weird one for you. I started out, I was obsessed with magic as a kid, and then I went on to work on a cruise ship for a very, very short contract. But while I was on that cruise ship doing magic, I learned how to DJ. And then from that, I ended up helping with karaokes. And from helping in karaokes, I got offered a job presenting karaokes in Turkey. And then even weirder, I don't think I've ever told you this story, Dan. I was in the airport and I got the phone call, I think, on the Monday. And on the Friday, I flew to Turkey, right? So I had a job in a bar at the time and I asked for all my wages. And I spent all my money on the flight out there. A single ticket, a one-way ticket, and the rest of the money I gave to a friend, well, actually my friend's brother, to drive me to the airport because it was quite a distance. So I did that, and I was sat in the airport, and I had a handful of change, like maybe £6, something like that. And I was in the airport, bored, and I looked over at these machines, and you ever see those claw grabby machines where you can win a soft toy or something like that?
Yeah.
Those, yeah. So there was a different one, and it was like a almost like your microphone actually. It was like a solid thing, just a solid cylinder, and there's like a toilet roll tube. And it's got like little spikes around the top. And the thing about that is you had to get this thing directly into the tube. So like into the tube without it catching on the edges. And if it got into the tube, it had a magnet and it would lift it up. Now the thing that you're lifting up has money in it. And there was £5 note, £10 notes, £20 notes and £50 notes all throughout this thing. So I'm just having a go. I thought, I'll have a couple of goes. I put £1 in. It was 50p a go, right? So, that's half of £1. So I put £1 in. I had 2 goes. First go, missed, nearly had it. And it just caught on the edge. And I was like, oh, I nearly had it. Next time, bam. And I won £10. And I was like, yes, amazing. I thought, well, this is easy. I'll have a few more goes. So I put the rest of my change in the machine. Still got this crisp, brand new £10 note that came out in my pocket, and I thought, right, I'll have some more goes. Spent the rest of my change, didn't win anything. So I'm walking around the airport and I'm looking at Burger King, thinking, oh, I'm getting kind of hungry. I'll get something to eat from Burger King. And I thought, no, when I get to Turkey, I will treat myself to something nice. So I saved that £10. And I'd got my flight to Turkey, and we get off the plane, everyone's walking ahead. We've got our baggage. Everyone's walking ahead, and everyone starts just to turn off this other way. And I said to someone, where are we going? And they said, oh, you've got to get your visa. Got to pay for your visa. I was like, what? What's this? What's a visa? Did I have to apply ahead for this? And they said, no, you just have to give them £10, a £10 note. But it can't be crinkled. It can't be ripped. It can't be dirty. It's got to be a new £10 note. I was like, oh my God. I've spent all my money. I don't know what I've got. I've got nothing. And then I remembered that crisp, brand new £10 note I just won that I didn't have before I went into the airport was in my pocket. It was nestled snugly in my pocket. Now, a few things happened there to conspire to make that happen, because the travel agent that sold me the ticket never said anything about a visa, £10, nothing like that. So I was allowed into the country. So there's a weird thing maybe about how the universe or the multiverse conspires to make what's supposed to happen. And then I did my time in Turkey, came back to the UK, and that is just through somebody on Facebook. I happened to be recommended. In fact, it was Phil Henderson recommended I check out this thing by the two rock stars, and that about 11 years ago that introduction was made, and here we are today. You're listening to me waffling on a camera.
Yeah,
amazing.
I love it. So you're like, yeah, let me check out this two rock stars, and you meet Dr. Dan, right?
Exactly. And now you're stuck with me. Dan.
I love it. That's okay, man.
Yeah,
I love you, man. I want you stuck. I want you stuck there with me. I love it.
Good. I like that. You're definitely stuck now.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, but that's the thing, right? All these things lead us. You know, by looking at them in a whole, like looking at them separately, you're like, man, all these failures, all these like missteps, all these wrong directions that I took in my life, but they led you to where you are today, right? It made you the person you are today. It made the connections that you made today, but you have to take those steps. You have to leap first. You have to take those steps in that direction, right? You have to start. You can't just sit down on your hands and be like, sit down on your hands and be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything, because it ain't nothing going to happen. Right?
I think so, when people say, if you could go back and change anything, would you? Obviously, people have things that are unpleasant and things that they regret, but maybe people who've had horrific atrocities happen to them, fair enough. But I think most people, really, the logical thing for them to say is, no, I wouldn't change anything, because it's made me who I am now, and I'm a result of those experiences. And I've got 100% survival rate so far of those. So, yeah.
I would, when I've been asked that, I would say I would only change those things if the butterfly effect wasn't a thing, and I could change one thing in my life or something in my life, but it wouldn't affect anything else. Yeah. So it's like, would you I would invest in like a stock or invest in a company.
Yeah.
I would actually be Jeff Bezos' partner, right?
Yeah.
And be half owner of Amazon, or be the majority stakeholder or something like that. Yeah. But the caveat would be that I would get that, but nothing else would change. I'd have still have the same kids, the same wife, the same everything else. If there was a way to do that, then of course. But if there isn't, like, you can't, like, there's that movie. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Shoot. I'm asking me those things now. It's sticking with me. Where the guy can actually time travel, him and his dad. So all the men in his life. No, not that one. That's the butterfly effect. No. Anyway, so it's a love story. There you go. About time. There we go. Wasted a couple minutes on that. With the magic of editing, we removed that. So while you're watching this, you're going to be like, oh, that was only a second it took. Good job. No, it actually took like 30 minutes. We sat on this for 30 minutes, and we're editing that out. So fantastic movie. Highly recommend it. What's her name? Margot Robbie's in it as well.
Okay.
And she has a small role in it, but such a great movie. And I don't even remember what my point was now because my ADD kicked in.
About
but it
going
had
back
something.
in
Being able to
time.
change things. Yeah.
Change things.
So yeah, so he learns that he can't go past a certain time without it messing with certain things in his life. So anyway, so that's not the whole point of the movie, but it just reminds me of that. And I thought that was great. Now, so would I go back in time? Like I said, probably not, because again, it led me to who I am today. Now, if I would have like held back and not done the things that I've always wanted to do and fulfill and follow my dreams, my passion, my life, my purpose, right? If I weren't doing those things, I'd probably be at some job, some dead-end job. I shouldn't call it a dead-end job. Just something for me would be a dead-end job, meaning that it would be sucking the life out of me. I'd be miserable. Who knows what kind of family life I would have? I mean, maybe I'd be divorced. Who knows? Maybe my kids would hate me because I would just be slowly dying working for some company while the fluorescent lights above me are sucking the life out of me, which I can't stand fluorescent lights and being under them. I had to be in an office when I worked in the mortgage and the real estate industry. And I just couldn't handle it, man. I hated it. I'd always shut off the lights in my office, in my own room. And then I'd brought in like a full spectrum light, and I would have those lights in there, and people would be like, why is it so bright in here? And it was because I brought in artificial sunlight so I could actually feel good. Right. And this is before you could get like inexpensive happy lights and things like that. So I had to like really find a company that would send me those kind of lights. But yeah, so I would be something like that. And I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Joe versus the Volcano?
Well, in today's episode of Dan asking me if I've seen a movie, what's my standard answer? No!
That's an old one, man. It's Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan.
I still haven't seen it.
It's a classic. Come on, man.
I'll add it to the list of 8
right.
million movies I haven't
Put that
seen.
on the list. Another great movie. There's this great clip in there that we used to show when I used to do events, and we used to talk about like getting out there and starting your own business. And one of the clips was he's like in this office and he's saying that he's like, the life is like, I feel like my life is being sucked out of me from these lights. Like he's like just going around the office talking about things that he hates about the office. Like this lamp, it keeps flickering and this copy machine never works and and this coffee is disgusting and all these other things. It's hilarious. So I highly recommend you watch that as well. But that would be my life. I wouldn't be here, talking to you all today, like I said, if it wasn't for all the missteps, all the so-called failures in my life that led me to where I am today, all the pushing forward and not worrying. I mean, again, you're going to still worry, but not allowing the worry to cripple me where I'm saying like, what if this doesn't work out? Well, great. All those things that I just mentioned didn't work out. And other things that I didn't even mention didn't work out. Other businesses did decent or did okay, and I struggled in, but then they failed, So if it wasn't for those things, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be where I am today. So if you're in a part of your life right now that you're not fully satisfied with, or something just isn't working out the way it's working out, or you wish you could do something completely different, start taking small actionable steps towards that and you will get there, or you will get to where you need to be instead, because things will change and things will shift. A lot of the things that I want to do in my life have shifted and changed. I was like, oh, I want to have this and I want to have that. Well, I don't want those things anymore. I don't want to live there anymore. I don't want to be in that kind of business anymore. So things shift and change, but you won't get anywhere near where you want to be or where you should be or where you need to be if you don't start taking those steps right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they say that, there's regrets and all this sort of thing, but I think one of the things that people worry about the fear of failure and the fear of the time it's going to take. One of my favorite quotes is Earl Nightingale, and I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to paraphrase, but the gist of it is he said, never worry about how long something's going to take to do because the time's going to pass anyway. And for me, I think that's one of my favorites, when I think, oh, it's going to take this long, to then think, that time's going to pass anyway. Am I going to use it on that or something else? Have I got something better to use it on? That's kind of the question that I need to ask myself. And the whole fear of failure thing, I mean, it's just, look at it as feedback. That's one of the most positive things as well that I've learned is I mean, you can get hung up on some failures and things that have gone wrong and all that, and just choosing to see them as feedback for me is a huge thing. To just go, yeah, okay, I figured out what didn't work. Like people who've had loads of jobs, like for me to list the jobs I've had, it's quicker to list the jobs I haven't had. I've gone from working in like I said, on a cruise ship doing magic. I've been jobless and stranded in Turkey without my passport and not a penny to my name. Funny story. All the way to working in IT and with BT, British Telecom, and you know, doing stuff with Rank and Rent and all sorts, to running my own companies, and loads of them failed, but I learned every single time. So it wasn't a failure, it was feedback. It was valuable lessons on what does and does not work. And I think when people fail at things, they're just figuring out what doesn't work for them, like the old Thomas Edison saying about 10,000 failures to make a light bulb. Was it failures or was it 10,000 correct identifications of what doesn't work? So yeah, just do it.
Exactly.
Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I could go on and on and on of all the so-called failures in my life, right? I mean, I remember, I wanted to write a book, because I wanted to share my knowledge with more people out there. I had one of my coaches, or actually several of the coaches and the people in my life that were like, man, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. So the multiverse was saying, you need to write a book. So again, as we all know, I listen to the multiverse when it's talking to me because I don't want to get kicked in the nuts, right? Or as a female in the ovaries. I do not want that to happen. Now, who was I to write a book, considering that I was a D- student in English and in school? Now, the truth is I was actually an F student. I don't know how they passed me. I figured out the system was rigged early on because I didn't turn in homework. I messed around on my tests. I didn't study. I didn't do any of those things. And I still went from grade to grade to grade. So I figured early on that it was just all, it was all rigged and I could pass no matter what. Now they made me do summer school a lot, but again, I just did the same thing there. I barely did anything. I did the minimum, if that, below the minimum, and they still passed me. So being that kind of a student, who was I? Who was I to say, hey, I'm going to write a book? But here's the thing. Not only did I write one book, I wrote two books. I wrote 2 Amazon best-selling books, and I did them in a weekend, right? And again, how did I do that, right? I had no knowledge. I didn't know how to do no knowledge of how to write a book or how to get a bestseller or how to do any of that stuff. But I found an expert. I modeled. I paid them. They showed me. They taught me. And they helped me put it all together and do it. So I was able to shortcut that success that normally would take people years and years and years to be able to achieve. And I was able to break it down. I think we did some prep for, I want to say a couple weeks, maybe like 2-3 weeks. Could have been a little longer, but I think it was like 2 to 3 or 4 weeks. And then met up with her at her house and we did the book in like 2 to 3 days. I did 2 books in that amount of time over the weekend. So, again, but I wouldn't have been able to achieve that if I would have just tried to figure it out myself or just, most people would just fail and put it on the back burner. I know when I first started trying to do it, and I told the story before, I sat down in a Starbucks and I started writing in a journal and I started writing. I got 2 pages in and I'm like, now what? I got stumped. I didn't know what else to do. And then that's when I started seeking out an expert. And I forgot which episode we told that story in, but check them all and you'll find that story in there. But the thing is, I didn't want to tiptoe through life, right? I didn't want to tiptoe through life, and I didn't want to have regrets. So what did I do? I leaped first and I let the net appear. And what are some of the things that you've wanted to do in your life? Some of the things that you've been afraid to do, some of the things that you're tiptoeing around, that you're going, oh, it's scary. I don't want to do it. What if? You know, the thing is, you got to stop what ifing yourself. Okay. You're what ifing yourself all over the place, and you got to stop doing that, right? You got to do something to work towards it. Take some kind of action, because fear, we were just talking about fear. Fear is a lie. I mean, I've said this before, fear, you know, for all of you who've all heard that saying of it, is fear is false evidence appearing real. And what that really means is fear is a lie, because think about all the things that you've feared in your life. 99.9% of the things that you're afraid of and that you fear probably will never happen or haven't happened to you. You know, oh, I'm afraid, you know, this is going to happen. I'm afraid that's going to happen. I'm afraid. You're constantly afraid. If you write down every single fear that you have, every single moment and minute of the day, I bet you 99.9% and above that none of those things would happen. Sure, there's going to be like the 1 in a million times that something does happen that you feared. And you're like, oh, see, the fear was real. Well, no, that was like 1 in a million, or one, even if it was 1 in 100,000. So if 1 in 100,000 or even 1 in 1,000 things, let's say it's 1 in 1,000 things come true of your fears, then why not lie to yourself 99%, percent of the time and tell yourself a good lie instead of a bad one, because again, it's a lie. So why not tell yourself a good lie instead of a bad lie? One that serves, your purpose, that puts you on the right path, that brings you joy and happiness, one that'll allow you to live your true purpose. Because if it's a lie, why not tell yourself a good lie, right? Which means, again, like we're going right back to it, is shine your light bright. Don't let other people dim your light, because that's what being a rock star in life is all about.
I was thinking a minute ago, you're saying like, lie to yourself. How would you recommend somebody does that? How would they lie to themselves in a constructive way? Is there a method for that, or just every morning say it into the mirror, whatever, what would you recommend as the direction to take for that?
Yeah. I mean, it's really just about catching yourself and conditioning it into you, making it part of your DNA. Just practice over and over and over again. Whenever you think like, so for my wife and my kids, even, they'll say sometimes things like, oh, what if this doesn't work? And I turn around and go, what if it does?
Yeah.
That's a simple example right there of self-talk. When you're thinking to yourself, what if this doesn't work? You don't need to turn around and tell yourself, it will work. Don't worry. It will work. You're like trying to push yourself. Instead say, what if it does work?
Yeah.
What if it does?
Okay.
Imagine if it would. Imagine when it does. Imagine if it would, right?
Yeah.
It's a lie. Again, it's a good lie. It's serving your purpose, right? It's helping you out. So it's a really simple one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. When you said that when people imagine things that go wrong, and they do go wrong, and they're only right maybe 1 in 1,000 times, like the things that go wrong are things that you never even imagined usually, aren't they? They're normally just something completely unexpected. Like, well, where did that come from? Like bloody to date this and probably get this now flagged because I've said that. You can beep it out if you want in post, but yeah, like, who expected that? I mean, if I'd expected that, I would have bought shares in Zoom. It's back to the whole buying shares in companies. So yeah, I think just what if it does work? Yeah, that's the way to do it then. Definitely. Thanks, I will use that.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I would recommend doing for all you watching this right now or listening to this, make a list of the top 10 things that you can think of right now, 10 things that you want to do, try, or whatever it is that maybe you've put on the back burner. Maybe it's something that you thought, oh, I can never do that, or it's just not for me anymore, or I'm too busy now, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or whatever it might be that you've always wanted to do, but you never did them, right? Make a list of 10 things that you want to try or do. Start with that list of 10. Just write them down. Go ahead and pause this and write them down, because it doesn't matter how big or small they are. The goal is just start writing. There's no right or wrong answers. Just write them all down. Even if it's like, I want to go to space, write that down. You're like, I want to be a best-selling author, write it down. You're like, I want to be on stage singing with a big band, or I want to be on stage with Aerosmith. Write it down. Whatever it is that you want to do, write it down. And if you got more than 10, then that's great. Keep writing. That's great. Keep going. Write more. Maybe, like some of the things that we mentioned, just give you some ideas. Maybe it's, you want to take singing lessons, right? Maybe dance lessons. Maybe you wanted to start working out, get in better shape, right? The best shape of your life. Maybe you want to run a triathlon. You've always wanted to do that. Or a marathon. Maybe you wanted to start skateboarding again, and you're in your 30s or 40s. Maybe you wanted to start a band. Maybe you wanted to write a book. Maybe you wanted to start a TikTok channel, which is funny because I call it a TikTok channel, but I still call it a channel, right? It sounds like it sounds better to me. But my daughter was always like arguing with me, saying like, she'd get mad at me. She'd be like, it's not a channel. It's an account. It's not a channel. So then I started calling it a tickety talk channel. So it doesn't trigger as much anymore. Exactly. All right. Maybe you wanted to start a podcast, go on a trip to Fiji or Alaska or somewhere else. Maybe you wanted to skydive. Maybe you wanted to bungee jump. Maybe you wanted to go zip lining. Maybe you wanted a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but you're too afraid. You don't believe that you deserve to be with somebody else, or you're too afraid to put yourself out there, and you want to give up or whatever, or you've given up. Maybe you want to get a wife or a husband. Maybe you want to learn to knit. You want to learn to paint. You want to get a dog or a pet, but as a kid, your parents wouldn't let you have one for whatever reason. Well, you're a grown-up now. Get one. Right? So no matter what it is that you want to do, be you. Do the things that you've always wanted to do and live your purpose. Don't let others dim your life or hold you back or hold you down or anything like that. Again, write down 10 or 20 or whatever you got, and then keep adding as much as you like. And the first step is to take action on the first one on your list that you want to actually start. So if you have a list of 10 or 20, since you went ahead and just wrote them all down, feel free to kind of readjust them and move them around to what's most important that you want to start first, and then go down the list. But at least pick something on the list, something, whether it's big or small, just to get started, and just circle that and be that number one that you're going to start with. Okay. What you want to do is you want to take some kind of action towards that, whether it be make a phone call, schedule an appointment, fill out a web form, or go online and email them. Again, like I said, make a phone call a friend or a family member, somebody that might know some information on how to do something that you want to do. Whatever it takes, get more information, get a pamphlet, download the PDF about whatever it is you want to do. Start taking steps on at least one on that list, and then work your way down that list. Start marking things off and start switching them up depending on whatever it is you want to do. But the most important thing is take some type of action towards starting one or two or three of those things, and just don't give up. Do 1, 2, or 3 of those things. Now, again, I got to say just one more time, I got to say, I'm not saying for you to leave your spouse and kids. I'm not saying that if you're like, again, like you're like, oh, I really want to move to this other country, and you want to, like, your wife's job is where, and your job is in a certain, state or country or whatever, and you're trying to go somewhere completely different. You have to take steps to be able to do that, right? So spend 20% of your time like figuring out what steps you can take to do that. You know, don't just get up and just do it though, if it's going to create all kinds of chaos in your current life. So if it's something big like that, then obviously take small steps to get there, choose something else and work towards that. And then, once the time is right, do it. I mean, that's what we had to do. I had always, when I was a teenager, I came here to Southern California where I live now. And I had visited my friend in Huntington Beach. And I really fell in love with Southern California. I was like, man, this is amazing. At the time I was in Northern California, the Bay Area. And I really liked it. And then later on, as I got older and I was in my 20s, I came to Southern California again for some events that I was going to. I was traveling with Tony Robbins for his Platinum Partnership program. And I just fell in love with Laguna Beach, which is one of the places that I hung out at when I was out here. And I was just like, man, this place is magical. I just love the energy and the people and everything around. So I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And I had a family and I had kids. And I had a wife. So we actually came down here and started looking. But at the time, this is like around 2007 or 2006. The market wasn't doing as well. My business wasn't doing as well. And I was looking for something different to make a shift. So it just wasn't the right timing, even though I came out here looking for houses. So I had to put that in the back burner. And it took a couple more years until it felt right again. And I'm like, okay, we have the opportunity. Let's do it. And we started looking, and within about a month or two of making the decision, we did it. But it took a couple years to get to that point. So that's what I mean when I say take the steps towards it. You can get out there and start looking, maybe travel to that location, check it out, look online, find some spots, find where you're interested in, ask some people, some locals around there, and figure out where it is you want to be. And it might take a couple years to get there, or maybe a couple months, but the point is to keep working towards it. And again, things can change, things can shift. I always wanted to live in Laguna, but I ended up living in Costa de Casa instead because I like it better here, right? It's a little bit quieter. You get more space, whereas Laguna Beach, every house is like stacked on top of each other, and you're looking at everybody else's backyards, and you don't get a lot for your money in that area. So I was like, man, Costa de Casa is amazing. It's like we're in this separated paradise. We're in this, the whole city's in gated community. And the entire city of Costa de Casa is gated, and we have all this green around us, the mountains around us. It's beautiful, right? So that's why we decided. So things will change and shift, and that's totally fine, but start making and taking steps. Now, what do you do if people in your life, whether it be your spouse, a loved one, girlfriend, boyfriend, family members, friends, or whatever, maybe it's your parents, maybe they're like, sitting there and telling you like, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or they're just not supportive of whatever it is that you want to accomplish or what you want to do. If you want to write a book, maybe they're like, or actually I'll give you an example. My wife, we wanted to homeschool our kids, and her father was telling her like, how could you homeschool the kids? You weren't even good in English. You weren't even good in your school. You had to go to a continuation school. You didn't get great grades. You can't teach these kids. You don't have what it takes, So we had to like stop listening to him. I was told my wife, I was like, don't listen to him when it comes to that, right? Just don't talk to him about that stuff anymore. And she had to completely, like, whenever he brought it up, she had to say, Dad, stop talking about that. I do not want to talk about it. I do not want to hear it. And if you bring that up again, I just won't talk to you for a while, right? So she had to set that boundary in order to do that. Now, obviously, that's not as easy if it's your spouse or your partner that you live with, or your kids or your parents. Well, your parents, it actually is easy, but spouse, obviously, I would recommend saying, I'm not going to talk to you anymore or anything like that. For those, it's not about that they want you to dim your light, or they want you to not achieve what it is that you want in your life, or they want you to live your purpose or anything. They just don't understand it. Either they don't understand it, or they're afraid for you to fail. They don't want to see you hurt. They don't want to see you fail. They don't want to see you get depressed because it didn't work out. Or maybe it's something deeper for them. Maybe it's something that they don't believe that they get to achieve it, or that you'll want them if you achieve it. Maybe they're afraid like, oh, if they write a book and they become a bestseller and they start getting popular or famous or something like that, then they'll no longer want me. I won't be good enough for them, right? They'll want somebody else. So they're afraid of that. So you just need to reassure them and then just keep taking steps forward and just keep reassuring them and showing them that you love them and that you're there for them. Or maybe it's that they're afraid that if you do succeed, then something they gave up in their life that they have to turn around and now do it themselves. And they're afraid they don't have it within them to do it themselves as well. And again, that comes down to them being afraid of failure themselves. So what I say and what I suggest is you do it for you, you accomplish, you make these things happen, but you also be there for them and let them understand that you'll be there for them no matter what. And they will get inspired by your own achievements. Once you succeed, they will see the difference. They will see the shift in you and they will feel loved. They will feel protected. They'll feel safe to do it for themselves as well. So you're kind of like, you're shining your light on them and bring it back to the example of being on stage, being a rock star in life and making the world your stage. You're getting on stage, you're performing, you're shining your light bright, but you're also bringing them on stage as well. You're saying, hey, there's plenty of room. Come up here with me. Come up here with me and shine your light bright as well with me. Our lights will shine bright together. We're both rock stars in life and we're both going to make the world our stage together. Right?
Nice. Absolutely. I think what you were saying there about people being scared for you. I think, yeah, they're just trying to protect you, aren't they? When they're kind of saying, oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, are you sure that's the right thing? I think, well, for one, yeah, you wouldn't do that because if you would do that, you would have done it. And I'm not you, So when people say, oh, I wouldn't do that, it's just because they're a bit scared and a bit apprehensive. I've done some wacky stuff in my time. It's funny because when you were reading all these things out, like saying maybe you want to read opera on stage, sing opera on stage, I was like, yep, done that. And you said maybe you want to be a clown in a traveling circus. Done that. True story. Circus Marcus. I appeared briefly. So I've done loads of these things. So I've done some wacky stuff. Yeah, people have been behind me and other people have ridiculed me for it and gone, no, I wouldn't do that. This is a ridiculous idea. Great, let's do it anyway, But then don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm perfect and just achieve everything because, I've got my my own struggles with certain things. So all of this is to say that when people say I wouldn't do that, that was one thing that popped in my head. When people say I wouldn't do that, they're just trying to protect you and just like Dan said, being there for them and saying, listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to outgrow you or whatever. Maybe don't say that directly to them, but just reassure them that there's nothing going to change in their lives. Nothing's going to be negative or whatever. And just keep on. Just keep swimming. I think that's really the thing. They're not attacking you. They're not being negative to hurt you. It's just they're just trying to protect you, and I think that's an important distinction for sure.
Yeah, it can be several things. I mean, it can be a combination of things. It's hard to say because, again, I'm speaking from experience. Because when I wrote my books, the first book was How to Attract the Person in Your Dreams and Keep Them. Mm-hmm. And when I first started writing it actually wasn't going to be and keep them. That actually came later, and I'll tell that story at another time. But long story short on that, when I was writing that book, my wife, and I actually only remember this because, or I remembered it recently because like I said, I was backing up my hard drives and my pictures and my photos and my files, and I've been putting them on the cloud. And I came across this letter that said, "Dear Daniel." And it was a letter from my wife that I actually just, brought up to my wife and my kids downstairs as a lesson, right? We like to share our failures with our kids so they don't repeat the same things that we've done in our life. That's part of the homeschooling and the unschooling process, where we're teaching our kids from our failures instead of pretending like we're perfect and letting them repeat our failures, right? So in the letter, it said, Dan, how can you write this book about, attracting a woman and all this other stuff? And, and I just don't think it's right. And, and you're talking to these other women, because I was actually interviewing women as well. And she's like, and you're interviewing these attractive women. And I just feel like I feel like a teenager that's jealous. And this isn't something that should be happening. And so she wrote me this long letter of like why I shouldn't be doing these things. And again, this wasn't all coming from her. It would be a whole different conversation, but it was her dad and her family, her family as well, were all in her ear with their insecurities and their past experiences of them being hurt from others and other people, and then feeling like, oh, well, that's what Dan's going to do. They're going to hurt, my daughter, my sister, and then she had that fear of like, oh crap, if he does this, then is he going to want me anymore? Because he's talking to all these other attractive women and he's going to be famous or whatever, he's putting himself out there. So I had to just keep reassuring her and letting her know that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And we ended up with struggles, and I had to put my book on hold because we had to work on our marriage, which is crazy because I was traveling, and I wasn't traveling a lot more than I had ever, because I didn't really like leaving home that often at all. And we spent all the time together, but I started traveling, which was like, I would go on maybe for every month, I would go on a trip for maybe 3 days. So I'd be gone 3 days out of the month, sometimes maybe 4 or 5 days. But that was it. So it wasn't a lot of traveling. And it started putting a strain on our marriage because I was making so many shifts and changes in my life. And it put this instability in our life, made us unstable. And I just had to reassure my wife that I was there for her and I wasn't going anywhere, and that I was bringing her along with me. As I grew, she grew, and she had to stop listening to those other people, and she had to set boundaries, and some important lessons came from that. So today our marriage is amazing because of that, because we had to go through those challenges, because she had to learn to set boundaries with her family and say, look, I don't want your advice. You've been divorced. you have a horrible marriage, I'm sorry, but they have a really bad marriage and not a good relationship with their kids. So, again, if my mother-in-law is watching this, Debbie, I'm not talking about you. We're talking about the other one, the other person. And I don't want to call them out. I'm not going to say any names, but yes. So my wife had to set boundaries and say, look, I'm not going to speak to you if you're going to say these things, and put them on timeout, because they continued with that negativity and with their backseat driving of our marriage, trying to give us advice. And my wife would, every now and then come back and talk to her dad and say, okay, let me try it again. And, every couple months she would try, and then it would happen again. Like he would overstep and really try and like influence our marriage and say things. And she's like, all right, you're on timeout again, go in the corner.
Think about what you did.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that this is real life. Everything isn't perfect. It's not going to be like, oh, you just do this and then this happens. No, it's going to take some adjusting. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some reassurance, but you have to keep moving forward. You just have to keep swimming. Like we said, like you were saying, right? Go ahead and sing that little tune, Tony. What do you got to do?
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
I love it. Yeah. So I don't have anything. I have a lot more that I could say, but I think we've really dug this one in deep. Hopefully you guys got some a lot of value out of this, and you're going to write those things down, or you've already written those things down, and you're going to start taking action on those things.
Yep, for sure. I think we've covered a lot of great stuff today in this session, and I think we've wrapped it up nicely at the end by saying, listen, if you're listening or watching these videos where we're talking about being a rock star in life, I think after a while, they naturally will start to get some pushback from people. So we've addressed that and said, no, here's how you can settle down their worries or their fears, or here's why they might be getting a bit negative around that. And we can just deal with that and move on nicely. So I would love to hear in the comments, what is it that you are going to start working on next? Viewers out there in internet worlds, what are you going to be working on? What's the thing that you've been putting off for whatever reason? Because you're too young or you're too old. I mean, too old, don't get me started. Wasn't Harrison Ford in his 40s when he got his first movie role? Morgan Freeman was in his, 50s? Was he 56? I Googled it a minute ago. I should still have it here. Morgan Freeman was... his first Hollywood role was 52 years old. Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC till he was 65. Although I'm vegetarian and Dan's vegan, so we'll leave that one there. But so I mean, there's so many people who didn't have their break, or they didn't even start something until they were much, much later in life. So don't use too old as an excuse. Damn it, you're not too old. You just experienced, and it's one of those things, you just got to go for it. So in the comments, back to what I was saying, in the comments, let's hear what it is that you're going to be working on next, and if there's anything holding you back, pop that in there as well. We'd love to answer that. We read every comment, we answer every comment, so we would love to hear what's going on there. And by the way, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And while we're clicking things, click on that notification bell so that you get notified when we upload our next video. I thought I'd squeeze that in there, Dan, before I forgot to mention it.
No, perfect. And if you're listening on a different platform, no matter where you are, go somewhere that you can comment. Hit us up on YouTube, follow us. Go over on RockStarInLife.com and make sure you go over there and jump on our newsletter and join the Rockstar Revolution. RockStarInLife.com. Download free tips, the transcript, everything will be over there as well, plus some other free goodies, and we'll keep adding more stuff to the site as we continuously build this out and create more shows and more episodes and more content and create some courses and some other cool stuff. And also have the new TikTok channel as well that you can check out as well, which is a bunch of little short, some original different stuff that I do. Some stuff is life lessons. Some stuff is just for fun. So I'm going to be really building on that as well. And we have some YouTube shorts Tony's been uploading as well. And just find us, follow us everywhere we are. And we definitely want to hear from you. Like Tony said, write in the comments, message us, hit us up at support@rockstarhelp.com, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's another place.
Yep. But definitely do all of that after writing that comment. Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, I ain't got nothing else other than to say, be a rockstar in your life and make the world your stage.
And for me, it's don't stop believing, and write that comment.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Rockstar in Life podcast, your source for unleashing your inner rockstar. For more tips, training, and free stuff, be sure to go to RockStarInLife.com and join the Rockstar in Life revolution today. Thanks again, and don't forget to be a rock star in your life and make the world your stage.